Hello, welcome to Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. I hope you're having a great holiday season. I'm anticipating uploading this on Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas. My lighting's a little different, so I hope it's okay and not too dark. So nothing I can do about it now, so I hope it looks all right. But I hope you're having a wonderful Christmas morning and Santa is very generous with you. If you haven't already, please watch the white whale video on the Brick Mantooth channel. Brian Heiler, who runs that channel, asked me to contribute a segment to that video. So if you want a little more of me in your holiday, watch that white whale video. I have a lovely, charming, uplifting story about a stuffed Chewbacca. It'll warm your heart. It'll make you feel so good. It has such a positive message. You'll love it. If you want something that's just like a feel-good moment in your life, watch my segment in the white whale video on the Brick Mantooth channel. Trust me. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Marx Mighty Kong. Around this time every year, Thanksgiving or Christmas, we do a Marx battery-operated toy video. And you'll remember last year, we did the Marx Yeti. And I spent an hour talking about it with all this build-up. And then at the end of the video, I put batteries in it, and it didn't work. I have a lousy track record on this channel of trying to make mechanical toys operate. They never work. I tried it with Telco, well, they knockoff Telco walking toys. They didn't work. When I did the Marx Frankenstein, I didn't even bother. I knew it was a mistake to even try to make that work, so I didn't even bother. But last year, I was so worked up, so hopeful that I was going to demonstrate this Yeti toy, and he was going to walk and yell, and it's going to be beautiful, and he didn't work. That was very disappointing. And once again, I have not tested this Kong. I am going to put batteries in him. I'm going to try to make him work, but let's just lower your expectations. Chances are it's probably not going to work. It worked when I bought it back in the 1990s, but he's been sitting unused, untouched for 30 years, so he's probably not going to work. But we'll see. I'll put batteries in him, and we'll see. Let's get the box out. So this is the toy we're going to talk about. The Mighty Kong. Louis Marx Mighty Kong. Battery operated remote control. The Mighty Kong. My lights are making noises. I hope they're not going to go out. But this is the Mighty Kong by Marx. We'll look at this box a little more in a second, but there's a better image. Isn't that something? The Mighty Kong. Look at that image. I love the artwork on these 60s Marx boxes. They're so evocative. And something about them reminds me of contemporary fireworks packaging. If you go to a fireworks stand in June and July and look at the packaging on the fireworks, some of the artwork reminds me of old Marx illustrations on the robot boxes, the battery-operated toy boxes. There's some, I don't know how or why there would be a commonality, but I just always get that feeling when I go to, I don't shoot fireworks in the 4th of July, but I do sometimes go to the stand just to look at the artwork. I just like the packaging. I like the the painted images on the packaging. The more old-fashioned it looks, the better. And it seems like there's just a lost tradition of this kind of commercial illustration. And for some reason, it still survives on those fireworks packages, but you don't see it on other toys. This is just classic illustration. I love this stuff. There's a very space age looking jet flying down at him. And we'll look at the sides in a minute. It says, make him walk, make him beat his chest and growl. We'll see if he does that. We will see if he does that. And I don't think there's a date anywhere on here, but he's believed to have been produced originally in 1963 and was available at least through 64. And that's because we have some catalog images, which you'll see here. The 63 image is from a Sears catalog, a Sears Christmas catalog from 1963. And the second image is an advertisement. I don't know if it's from a catalog. It's from 1964. And you'll notice in both of those, it's called a gorilla. They don't call it Kong or King Kong or Mighty Kong. They just call it a gorilla. And Marx did make a little gorilla that they just called on the box Gorilla that looks like a miniature version of the Mighty Kong. But on this big one, they called him Mighty Kong. There was a 60s cartoon about King Kong, and I don't know, obviously after the show, I think I should have Googled this ahead of time perhaps, but I don't know if the dates line up. But, I mean, it's possible that I know MPC made some toys based on this cartoon, and it could be that Marx was trying to tie it in somehow. But I don't know if the years line up or not. But there's an image on the box I'll show you that makes me wonder about that. But again, I could be so wrong. If the cartoon came out 2 years after the toy, I don't know. I probably should have looked that up ahead of time. But let's talk about Marx. We've done several episodes about Marx, Louis Marx. The company was founded in 1919 by Louis Marx and his brother David in New York. It was immediately very successful, and just 3 years later they were already millionaires. And throughout the Great Depression, when many companies were having a lot of problems, they did very well. And by the end of the 30s, they were considered the biggest toy company in the world. And they held that title through the 50s, probably into the early 60s, but certainly through the 50s. In the industry, they were generally considered the world's biggest toy company. Marx was sold to Quaker Oats in 1972, and the last Marx plant closed in Virginia in 1980, and not long afterward, the company's assets were liquidated. So that's a very short history of Marx. We've done Marx episodes before, and we've talked more about the company, so I don't want to rehash that information again and again. But there's a whole realm of Marx collecting. You could just be a Marx collector and have a huge, vast, varied toy collection, because they made all kinds of stuff. Besides just battery operated, of course they made plastic figurines. We've covered those before. They made articulated action figures. They made games. They made other toys earlier in the company's history, before they sort of fell into the pattern of the kind of stuff they were known for. They made a variety of toys. And really all the way through their history, they made all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't think they made. If your idea of Marx would be like just robots and figurines and Western action figures, they made a whole lot of stuff. They made a lot of stuff. And you could have a house filled with a gigantic Marx Toys collection with no other company represented, just Marx, and it would be an incredible collection. And there are people like that. There are people who specialize just in Marx. That's what they collect. There are Marx collectors, and they have gigantic Marx collections. And there was a Marx museum. I don't know if it's still open, but for several years there was a Marx museum that just had all Marx toys inside of it. So Marx is a big company, and they made several monster toys. They made the figurines, which we've covered on the show. And they made several robots, which we are covering one at a time. Isn't it interesting? I have a Sears bag for this thing, but it's not a 1963 Sears bag. It's a 21st century Sears bag. Well, actually, maybe it's a 1990s Sears bag. Okay, Mighty Kong, let's get out of here. Let's show yourself. Oh, he's hiding. Aww, he's shy. Come on, little guy. Rise and shine. There you go. Aww. He does kind of resemble the Yeti. He's a little smaller than the Yeti, the Marx Yeti that we saw last year. He's a little smaller. Not exactly the same. It's not just the Yeti with different color fur. It's a different toy altogether. Different action, different molds. I mean, everything about him, the head, the hands, everything's different. It's not the same toy at all. Feet are different. Completely different toy. And I remember in the 90s there was some confusion where I think people did. I remember talking to collectors who thought the Yeti and the Kong were the same toy, just different colors. They were very, very wrong. But that was pre-internet, pre-social media, and information didn't. It wasn't shared as readily as it is now. You see, it's got chains, just like in the 1933 King Kong, where he's on display in New York and he's all chained up. And yes, just like in the movie, these chains are made of chromed steel. That's what chromed steel looks like. Marx gave him chromed steel chains, just like in the movie. Those eyes look like they would light up, but they don't. He's so cute. All these robots are so cute. This is what the remote control looks like. Very different from the Yeti one, which is all decorated. It had a snow scene on it. This one's very plain. No batteries in it yet. We'll put batteries in it. The Frankenstein robot was made, it's a Marx toy, but it was manufactured by Yonezawa in Japan. And I don't know if Yonezawa made all of at least the monster robots, or if it was just the robots that were in the style of that Frankenstein. I don't know if Yonezawa made shall we say, the plush ones, the ones with the fur, the less robotic ones. Let's see if there's anything on the bottom of his feet. The Yeti did have some information there. This is made in Japan. The Yeti had, wasn't very enlightening, but it did have some text on the bottom of one of his feet. And the Yeti had a little made in Japan tag on the back. What's he got here? He has a little Marx tag. I can't see what it says besides the Marx logo. So this is one of those things I'll have to see when I'm editing this later. You can see it, but I can't see it. It's too small. It probably, I mean, I can see it has the Marx logo, but it probably just says made in Japan. But I'd be curious to know if, when I edit this later, if it says anything more than that. He growls and he beats his chest. He's very cute. He's so cute. All these Marx toys are so cute. He is not licensed through RKO, and a lot of older Kong toys are licensed through RKO Studios. I believe the Aurora model kit is licensed by RKO, and even this bank, which is clearly from the era of the Dino De Laurentiis movie. You can tell by the face, it's obviously a 76 Kong. This bank is copyrighted 1977 RKO. See if I can get the light to reflect off it so you can read it. And if you can't, just trust me, it's copyrighted RKO, not Dino De Laurentiis. And a lot of the Azrak Hanway Kong stuff is copyrighted RKO. And Topstone made a King Kong costume, which I have in the box, and that's copyrighted by RKO. So a lot of Kong stuff had an RKO copyright, even into the 70s. But not this Marx Kong. And incidentally, this, just like Woody in Toy Story, this is definitely my King Kong bank. Just in case anyone tries to take it away from me. It's my King Kong bank. I don't think I wrote that. I'm sure my mom wrote that. I might have written. That might have been me, but it was probably my mom, maybe my grandma. That's my childhood King Kong bank. Did I ever actually put money in him? I think I did, actually. I think I did. And I remember when he was new, he had such a strong odor, this overwhelming PVC plastic odor. I remember that well. But the point of showing him is not just to reminisce about my childhood, although that's kind of the point of the show, isn't it? The reason I show him is it's RKO. The Aurora model kit, I think, is RKO. And a lot of Kong stuff is RKO licensed. This is not. This is unlicensed, as far as I know, completely unlicensed. And so how did they get away with calling him Kong? Well, they didn't call him King Kong. You might notice even Legendary Pictures contemporary Kong movies, like, for the Monsterverse, they don't call him King Kong. I think Universal Studios maintains that they have the rights to the name King Kong, I think. But you might notice a lot of times, when someone comes out with a King Kong movie, they don't call him King Kong. Peter Jackson did, Dino De Laurentiis did, but there are different rights for just Kong and King Kong, and it all goes back to for a couple things. It goes back to the novelization, which I have from my childhood, but it's so dog-eared. I think the cover's ripped off and everything. But that novelization from the time of the 33 movie went into public domain. They didn't bother copyrighting that novelization. So because the novelization was public domain, the story and the character and everything became public domain. Not the film itself, but the concept of King Kong, the character and the story, that became public domain. And that continued to haunt the character to the present day. That's why you have more than one company at a time saying that they've got the rights to develop a King Kong project. I do think King Kong as a character is kind of a rights mess, but as long as you call him Kong and not King Kong, you can sidestep it. And there's a lot of Kong toys. I have a lot of rubber gorillas and like the counter display boxes they come in, or the tags and stuff like that. There's a lot of Kong gorillas, a lot of novelties over the years that have been Kong this, Kong that. And it's not licensed by RKO. And it's not necessarily licensed by Dino De Laurentiis. I think Universal took over. I think Universal took over the Dino De Laurentiis properties. I think, because I know Universal, they have a stake in Kong. Legendary has a stake in Kong. Multiple companies had a stake in Kong. And I believe that's why when Marx put out this toy, they just called it Mighty Kong, not King Kong. And then in the advertising, like the catalogs, it's just called Gorilla. And the little one's just called Gorilla. It's not even on the box, it's not called Kong. So here's this cute little baby. Now let's look a little more at this box. I don't have inserts, do I? Nah, it's just empty in there. So I don't have the inserts for this one. You'll remember my Yeti had all the inserts. It was beautiful. It was like he took it off the store shelf. But not this Kong. He's not as minty. At least the box is not as minty as the Yeti. The toy is pretty nice, but the toy is like untouched, but the box, it doesn't have the inserts. So at some point, I think a kid had this, didn't use it, probably used it once or twice or whatever. The parents put it back in the box and it got put away where it stayed until a collector bought it decades later. Because the box is pretty nice. You know, it's a nice box, but it doesn't have the inserts. So I can imagine the parent throwing the inserts away but keeping the box to store the toy. Let's take another look here. Now obviously this is the movie Kong. It's in New York City. That looks like the Empire State Building. And like you would expect Kong to, be attacked by a plane. That's something you would anticipate. He's got the chains, the chromed steel chains from the movie. And it says Mighty Kong. Not King Kong. He's mighty, but he's not king. He's like Prince Kong, Duke Kong, Baron Kong, but maybe not King Kong, but he's mighty. I love this art on the side. Well, this is on the top and the bottom. There's Kong, not quite as ferocious, and he's holding a child. He's holding a child in his hand. And poor Kong still has the chains. Isn't that interesting? That's a different take on Kong, holding a little baby. And here again is why I don't know if the years line up, but in the cartoon, he has a little boy sidekick, King Kong. He's almost like, he's the buddy of the little boy. So again, I wonder if that's a callback to that cartoon. And as I said, if it turns out that cartoon, at some point I'll put the years for that cartoon if I find it. And I bet the cartoon came out after this toy, and I'm just completely full of it. But I'm just speculating that maybe the cartoon had some influence on this. But I really like that art. It's a gentle little Kong. And don't look at that one yet. Look at this. There we go. Here's the same image on the other end. Probably no difference from what you just saw, but just to be complete, it's on both ends, top and bottom. That's really a sweet image, isn't it? See, King Kong's not so bad. All right, now, there's the Kong we know. There's Kong of Skull Island right there. Or is it Blood Island? I mean, look at these palm trees. I don't know. Look at that. Isn't that something? I love that. And I love how that dinosaur almost has a... It kind of reminds me of the 70s Aurora prehistoric scenes. Something about it, particularly the Allosaurus. The model and the artwork for the model. I mean, obviously this is a decade before that. What a nice Kong image fighting the dinosaur on this island, this tropical island. I also want to to look and see the dates for, King Kong versus Godzilla. If I find I don't want to be wrong, so I'm not going to say that. I think I know the year for that, but I'm not going to say King Kong versus Godzilla and King Kong escapes. King Kong escapes. I was going to say King Kong escapes, but no, King Kong escapes. Rankin Bass co-production with Toho. The 60s were an interesting time for King Kong. There was a lot going on. There were the two movies, King Kong versus Godzilla and King Kong Escapes from Japan. And there was that cartoon, television cartoon. And there were other toys. There was the Aurora model kit. And there was this. And I'm sure there were plenty of rubber gorillas and things too. And let's look at the other side. This is on two sides. Same artwork. The Mighty Kong. Very nice. And I'm sitting here thinking I really should have researched the dates for the movies and the cartoon and all that stuff, but this is all very impromptu. You gotta understand, when I sit down and do one of these, I'll write down a few notes, a little bit, but a lot of this stuff just comes to me as I'm talking about it. I don't plan it out. I'm just sitting here thinking, what can I say about this? And things just start coming to me. I think, I better talk about this, and I better talk about that. I don't really know ahead of time what I'm going to talk about. And I feel like that if it's more structured, I'm going to lose some element that the audience likes. Look at that artwork. Isn't that lovely? I think the people who tune into this program like that impromptu, kind of casual style. Like we're just sitting here talking about toys. I'm just showing you some stuff. We're just kind of sharing some time together. And if I plan it, I hate these toy channels. One of the reasons I started this thing is because there were some channels I saw that were just so slick. They were like TV shows where they had a professional set, and they were obviously reading off a teleprompter, and they had broadcast quality lighting and cameras, and it was just like a TV show, but it was stupid because they were talking about this. And there was a disconnect. And I thought, I didn't want to watch that stuff, and I didn't think you did it either. So when I made this program, I wanted to be a little loosey-goosey, a little more casual, and shoot from the hip a little bit more, but not crummy. I see other channels that are just awful, where there's no effort, no care, and they're not even trying. So that's the other extreme. I don't want to be either extreme. I want to have a happy medium where you know that I actually care about what I'm doing, but it's not overproduced. Okay, what else can we say about this? We looked at the box, we looked at the toy. We can look at the toy a little more. Maybe we didn't look at him enough. Let's look at this toy a little more. Ah, look at that guy. Ah. He's looking at you. Saying, "What? Who's out there? Merry Christmas. Hello, everyone out there. Are you looking at me? I'm looking at you." I can just imagine how a little child would play with this. I mean, all of this would get screwed up pretty fast, but then I can even imagine cutting the cord on the back and just using this as an action figure. This is probably what a lot of kids did. And once the mechanism stopped working, they want to just, take him on adventures, and he's dragging this behind him. Kind of like the model kits, I would like my dad would build the kits. Not this one, I built this one, but my dad would build the kits. And then immediately, I would break them off the base. Instead of just telling him don't glue them to the base. No, he glued them to the base. I wanted them glued to the base so I could see them like that and just sort of take it in, you know, the way it's supposed to look. And then break them off the base. I would start playing with the models as if they were toys, and inevitably they would break off the base. And I'd be so happy when the base fell off finally, and then I could play with the model. But I did want my dad to glue the base on. I wanted him to glue the toy onto the base at first because I wanted to see the whole model the way it was supposed to look. But then I would start playing with it with the base attached, and I would I'd deliberately play rough so they would break off. Then I'd just say, "Yay! Now it's off the base." Well, how are we going to do this? All right, I'm going to snap my fingers, and when we come back, this tablecloth will be off, batteries will be in here, and we'll be set up to watch it not do anything. Are you ready? Here we go. Not snapping yet, hold on. Get a little room to snap. This time travel takes space because there are like time waves that come out. You know, I don't want to damage the toys. Okay, here we go. We're back. Batteries are in here. I don't know if they're in there the right way. Let's see what happens. Got 2 buttons. Let's push one. Nothing. Nothing. Okay, let's put them in the other way. Take the batteries out. Nope. Someone said just kind of give them a little punch. Nope. These batteries, they're in here kind of a weird way. I mean, I don't know about these. Try them again the other way. I get electric shock. Nah. Nah. Someone said knock it a little bit. It's not working. One more time. Turn the batteries around one more time. Yeah, I knew this wouldn't work. Well. Oh. You can do it. I don't hear a growl. Is that his growl? It's a Christmas miracle. Aww. Well, I don't know if we heard his growl, if the grinding if that's his growl, or if that's not functioning. But he worked. Let's make sure. I don't know if we got a good shot of that or not. Let's take another look at this. It seems like he should be making a sound when he opens his mouth. Yeah, I hear a little clump clump, like maybe something's not quite working in there. I suspect he should be making a sound of some kind when he opens his mouth. Oh, he's so cute. Now his mouth is closed. His mouth has been open for 30 years. Now his mouth is closed. Oh, he's a cute little toy. He's a cute little toy. Look at that. Okay, he worked. I had to risk electrical shock and hold the batteries, hold the contact, for these batteries. I wonder if that, see, the way this is constructed, I can get my fingers in there and push on it. That Yeti from last year, there was no way to do that with that mechanism. So I don't know. I don't know if that's the problem with the Yeti too, just not making contact. I don't know. But we got him to work. It's amazing. It is a Christmas miracle. So I think that's enough of that. I think it's time to pack it in. We had a battery operated toy actually work on this show. It is a Christmas miracle. Because that's never happened before. They never work. Okay. There we are. Marx Mighty Kong. Very classic, iconic monster toy from the 1960s. Introduced in 63 and was still available in 64. How much longer after that, I don't know. Unlicensed, not licensed by RKO as far as I can tell. It is an unlicensed King Kong toy, which is why it's the Mighty Kong instead of King Kong. But it's a beautiful classic toy. And it's in the same family as the Yeti and the Frankenstein and the spooky whistling tree and the haunted house. It's in the same family as all those great Marx monster toys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're enjoying your Christmas. And don't forget to watch that white whale video on the Brick Mantooth channel. I have a big chunk of it. And like I said, it'll put you in the Christmas spirit. It's the feel-good experience of the holidays. You trust me, right? I think so. I'm sure, of course you trust me. Until next time, thank you for watching. And the one who dies with the most toys is dead.